Alrighty, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. So just a little housekeeping. So this webinar is recorded, so we'll be uploading this to our YouTube later on today. Feel free to use the chat for any questions you have. We'll be taking questions at the end of the webinar and possibly a few in between. Yeah, so you can have your video on. Just make sure to stay muted unless you would like to speak. If you have a question, then you can unmute yourself and I will present our speaker today. So with over 20 years in creativity and 10 plus years in mindfulness, Melissa is an AI trainer who integrates her expertise in entrepreneurship, mindset, and creativity to embrace new technology for the greater good. As a facilitator for Fortune 500 companies, author, and award-winning designer, she inspires entrepreneurs to harness AI's potential for competitiveness and well-being, sharing real-life stories and training them to use AI confidently. So thank you, Melissa, for joining us, and I will pass it over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I know we're just going to be bringing more people in as we go. I'm going to actually share my screen, so I just want to make sure that everybody can give me a thumbs up. You can see a house that's kind of falling down. Great. Really, I want you to try to imagine that you're building a house. Well, you wouldn't start with the walls and the roof. You'd lay the foundation first. But what we found with specifically AI, that so many businesses are making the mistake of just jumping right in and they're going right straight to the walls and the roof without really securing their foundation. And so they dive into AI tools expecting immediate results. That's something that's coming out a lot. And those are great for quick wins, but we also have to make sure that we have those processes that can actually support it. So, in today's world, AI can absolutely be this huge asset, which is probably why you're here today. And perhaps you're using it already. And we have to, though, as well, apply it strategically. And so my mantra is always AI, second, business process first, because just like building a home, if you've been, built a home before, again, we need that solid foundation that turns AI into a true asset, just not a quick fix. So today we've got all kinds of different things that we're going to go through. Again, my name's Melissa. I want to thank Giovanna and Digital Nova Scotia for having me here today. Can I get an idea of who here is using AI tools in their business? Maybe you can show of hands, or just let me know in the chat. Who's here using any AI tools? Okay, we've got some more thumbs up. Great. Fantastic. All right, we've got lots of people here that are full in. Is there, is there anybody that's just starting out? Alex, he's using, anybody just starting out here? Yep, super. Well, okay, so this is the great thing. Today is going to be about, it doesn't matter where you are at in your AI journey. Jillian's scared of ChatGPT, that's okay. Again, this is all about us feeling way more comfortable with it. We're going to be talking about business processes, which are a little bit more comfortable as well. We're not going to be just exploring AI tools because that's not the point of today. Even though it's really exciting and we can do this in other types of sessions, but I really want to make sure that your business is ready to use AI smartly, or you in a role, you're using it smartly and sustainably for the long term. And so whether you have processes to improve, or maybe you're just starting from scratch, you're like, geez, I don't even know my business processes. We want to get you AI ready in the most effective way. Does that sound good? All right. So what we've got our business process. And this is what I always say, think of AI as this powerful tool that really can help you, build faster and smarter results. But your business process is in fact the engine that makes all of this work. And sometimes, again, there's so much going on in the world right now. We forget about those fundamentals. So you need to know what activities or what you want to achieve before AI can actually really help you get there. And so I'm all about not wasting time, because time is precious. So when I go into it, it's trying to really understand what is that business process. And it can be very simplified to then be able to apply AI to that process. Now, the way that I do keynotes is definitely not just a talking head. We will be going through today, it'll be a mix of learning, hands-on activities. We're going to apply what we discuss, and so it's interactive and practical. You should have received a PDF, and I think Giovanna sent that out in an email. She'll also put it in the actual chat, so that you can just download it. It's all fillable, so there's no stress. You can just kind of download it, put it on your desktop, and we can start to fill it in as we go. We're not going to be able to have the whole time to fill it out. But it's something for you that you can, take away and be able to complete as you see fit. Can everybody let me know that you do in fact have this PDF? Just give me again a thumbs up. Let me know. Let's take a minute just to kind of put it on our screen. Give me a thumbs up. Mateo's good. He's got it. This is the housekeeping, I know, and then we're going to dive right in. Okay, if anybody doesn't have it, just let us know in the chat, okay? We are going to be as well, because I do like interactivity, we're going to be using Menti. If you're not familiar with Menti, all you have to do is pull up another tab in your browser and just type in menti.com, and then it will ask you for a code. And again, I know this is the last two things I'm going to ask you specifically to get ready, and then we're going to rock and roll. So this is in the actual chat where you can just click on that link, or you can, if you've got a phone, you can just use your phone and use the actual QR code. So you're going to log into Menti using the code, and you're going to see just a blank screen. This way you can follow along and you can interact with the presentation. If you're like, Melissa, you know what? I just want to sit here and watch. No problem at all. So let's take just a moment to log ourselves in. Again, if anybody has an issue, let me know, but give me a thumbs up. That's two things, a PDF and Menti. Now I'm going to be able to see you in there. If you go to the right-hand side of that Menti screen, when you're in there, it will be blank, but you'll see a heart or a thumbs up. So you can certainly, if you click the heart, I'll know that you're in there. Is anybody having troubles? Or you're like, oh my gosh, Melissa, you've already just stressed me out and it's Tuesday morning. Let's unmute yourself if you can't get in. Okay, Jillian's, okay, give me a heart in the corner on the right-hand side of Menti so I can see that you're in there. Everybody's gonna be able to see it together. This is an interactive platform.
Melissa, I use the QR code and it says I'm waiting for the presenter.
That's okay, perfect. Okay, so if I click across, can you see it on the right-hand side now? Yep, it waits for me. You still should be able to go, as long as you can see the screen, you're good. Okay, well, let's jump in. For the people that have got Menti going, I do want to ask you a question around really choose the option that best describes your experience with AI in your business or in your role. So we're going to start to see at least, where people are at. We've got a lot of people that have dabbled. Fantastic. We've got completely new. We've got interested. This is what I love, is that we've got a really nice cross section. Anybody else want to let us know with regards to where you're at? So I like to be able to see what I'm working, as we go through. We've got, of course, a lot of regulars as well, just to get a better understanding of where people are at in this group, because it's quite a cross section. I do want to go into, really kind of reflecting on where you're at in your business, or like I said, in your role, thinking about what that biggest challenge is, that your business faces in organizing processes. That's a huge one that oftentimes we don't always think about. But again, I want you to go into Menti and, what is that biggest challenge your business faces in organizing processes? Just take a moment to key it in, take a moment to think about it, to see where that challenge is for you. Now, what we'll do is, as people kind of take a moment, you're going to start to see the responses populate. So somebody had said consistency. So that's a pretty common one. Absolutely. Is there anybody else that wants to share their biggest challenge? Okay, we've got capacity, too siloed. Absolutely. People engagement is key. Absolutely. A lot of businesses don't know their processes. You're 100% correct. Absolutely. That's why we use AI to help us with these things. training, too many stakeholders, documentation, high rate of change. These are all fantastic, everyone. Fine-grained evaluation and vetting of individual sales, making senior management see benefits, resources. So you can see that there's a whole lot of challenges here that we have just in terms of businesses, facing organizing processes. So we already have something. I mean, you're going to start to see that they're still going, creating processes, where to begin. When we don't have processes, it can have a huge impact on how we start to bring in AI to our operations. And I want to, thanks for everybody for actually joining in and being able to share this. I do want to introduce myself because I'm not just a talking head. Why am I qualified to be here today? Again, I've been running 2 companies. I've had actually a design company in the UK for quite some time. I've also been running Doodle Breaks. People may know me from there. And also, the Doodle Breaks I've been running for the last 10 years. It's been a company that has been in the creative mindfulness space. We've been able to do a lot of great, fantastic work in the area of Fortune 500 companies. We're across Canada and in the States, just in terms of delivering our creative mindfulness keynotes, workshops, and also books, as Giovanna had mentioned. Now, I actually transitioned into Aigility Hub and kind of I didn't mean to take it on. It was something that I realized that I knew I needed a better way to manage the business. And in 2022, when I was introduced to generative AI, I couldn't believe, I was like, wow, life could have been so much easier for this past 20 years. But we didn't have access to that technology at the time. And so I just thought, wow, if I can do this, and if I can actually implement and see progress and see incredible results, and for me, time is a really big thing. I thought, wow, well, what can I do for other businesses? And so I decided, I got certified. Of course, it sounds fancy, but it's not. Prompt engineering, really knowing how to ask questions with artificial intelligence, specifically generative AI. And what I just ended up speaking the last, year and a half with all different organizations across Canada. So that's why I'm here today, to help you share from things that I already know and where, the industry is actually going. We also don't know the end result of where AI is going, but we're kind of all in this together, kind of learning as we go. So what we're going to cover today is quite, we've got an extensive piece. We've got introduction to AI, identifying core business processes. We've got an interactive exercise. We are going to, yes, talk about generative AI for quick wins. And then we're going to squeeze in Q&As. Please feel free to put Q&As in the chat, and I'll see what I can get to as I go through. So I want to kind of start it with why AI should actually come second. And it's really, really important that we talk about this because, again, I'm usually training in AI mindset and AI literacy, and that's where I'm always at. But what I realized is so important is AI should actually come second, because without us first evaluating our actual business processes, or even if we're in a job and we have a process, sometimes we just need to step back. It's really, really critical to understand how things are working before you start to introduce AI into your daily habits, into how you do things. And we're not just talking about, that this is about longer term strategies for businesses and operations. This is all about getting, higher return on investment, and, really specifically with regards to time and cost. And this mindset does apply for quick wins too. So if you're somebody that just likes to jump into, a large language model like ChatGPT, we still have to be able to think about our processes so that we can get the most from what we're using. So I want to share a story with you. And these are all stories that will start to highlight how we can start to think a little bit differently. There was actually a company that wanted to use AI for their small customer service team. So they didn't have many people. They wanted to, they had heard about AI chatbots and going, wow, computers that can talk to customers, answer questions, and even make customers happier. And by the way, if you've got almost like an aversion to chatbots, I just want to say they have come an absolutely long way. We're getting into voice. It's really, really exciting. It's not frumpy like it used to be. It's something that every business will end up having. And it sounded like the perfect solution for this business. And there's, to help that small team, which was really struggling to keep up with all the customer, requests and inquiries. But what ended up happening was, they were super excited. They added this AI chatbot right away. And a lot of people are learning, okay, well, I can do this perfect low code, no code chatbots. This is easy. We can all design them, which is absolutely true, which is what is so fantastic about today, that all of us, the non-techies, we can all come to the table and be able to actually participate in designing things like chatbots and having real impact that way. But you can't just put a chatbot in and then just leave it, because that's obviously not going to be very helpful. And they found out that this was not helpful. Customers started getting mad because AI wasn't actually giving them good answers. It was actually, as well, it couldn't solve hard problems. And even worse, it made everything take longer. So instead of helping, the chatbot actually made their customer service worse. So this is a typical, again, I'm a full proponent of chatbots, but you really do, again, really understanding what the process is behind everything, which is what went wrong. Well, the company didn't take time to look at their customer service. They didn't take time to look at how it actually worked before adding the AI. It wasn't organized. And so their system for handling, customer questions, it was already messy. They weren't tracking customer requests properly, and the AI wasn't handing off complex problems to a human, which is really important that you know how you're using it. And on top of that, guess what? The staff didn't actually know how to work with the AI chatbot. And a lot of us don't think about these things. And so we just want to jump in because it's the next shiny thing and it's exciting, and absolutely it can solve a lot of problems. But AI could not fix their messy system. It made their problems bigger. So when you put AI first and your business second, you know what? It makes issues worse. So this is a really good example of what happens when, again, when you don't put your businesses, or you're not familiar with your business processes, what it can actually end up doing. Now, I do want to share that AI's impact as well. It's based on two factors. I've always, when I go in the room and people are like, oh, this chatbot, it's awful results, Melissa. This is a waste of time. I get so many things. Anybody else here just not happy with the results sometimes if they're using maybe ChatGPT or maybe they're using Claude? I get it all the time. And I always have to say, guess what? It comes down to the person who's using AI, the training of it. And we don't understand that because, again, until we've been trained in how to ask questions, unfortunately, that's where we kind of hit our limitation. And so, yes, we're talking about processes today, but this is also a conversation around, if you're looking to, implement AI into your process, how important it is as a leader, or in your role, it is to upskill and to really understand how to use it. The second part is that, again, it has to be around business processes that are already organized. And I know it's so hard. Sometimes we're like, we just wanted to do it. We don't want to have to think about all this, but we do have to do some preliminary foundational work. Now, if anybody's familiar with Eric Siegel, he just highly recommend this book, The AI Playbook. He says that, AI must be used carefully to solve specific problems. So without clear problem and well-organized approach, AI can actually cause more harm than good. We just experienced that. So what I want you to do is just to think about your own situation. And we're going to go back into Menti, but just take a moment first. Think of one process in your business that's creating pain for you. And what I mean by that is, it could be anything to, you run into problems. It could be in your everyday operations, something that's slowing you down or things down. Maybe it's causing mistakes or leading to customer complaints. Take a moment to think about one process that's causing pain. And then when you get a chance, put it into Menti. This is part of your therapy today. Just get it out. Sales funnels, 100%. We might find that we have some trends. Service tracking. Anybody else want to share a process? It can be very simple. Hiring, recruitment, repetitive emails, SharePoint. Yes. We've got CRM, cash flow. Reviewing large amounts of litigation documentation. Oh, this is where, well, based depending on what you're using, AI can be fantastic. Funding reporting. We've got 2 SharePoints. Credit card payments. Prioritizing. Ordering processes and not being integrated with sales. So you see, we've got campaign workflows. We've got a lot of different things. We all have pain points in what we're doing in our, whether it's our businesses or whether it's in our roles within business. We've got more prioritization, request, and intake. So we do have to start with that problem, what is creating pain for you, and be able to start to look at that process. So when we look at this process, what I would love for you to do is to take that PDF, whatever you've answered in terms of the first, there's a question where it actually says, identify the process causing the problem. We're not going to have much time to fill all this in today. Like I said, this is actually here to support you to go through some of your process specifically. But why don't you take a couple of minutes just to fill in your response on the right-hand side to a couple of these questions. So identify that process, which you've just done. And then start to really kind of, again, think about this. So we're just going to take a couple minutes here. If anybody's got questions, feel free to unmute yourself. Kosi, yes, you can get the PDF is actually in this chat. So maybe Giovanna, if you can upload that PDF again, that's great. So what's important again about this process is when you think about whatever's causing you that pain, you know, thinking about how long it's been an issue, how does this process affect your team, your customers, your business? Have you tried to fix it before? What's your biggest frustration? That's some preliminary work to think about that specifically. Now, for everybody that is in the room that is like, I just need to fill this whole thing in and then I'll feel okay. We don't have that time today, but this is here for everyone to go a little bit later on as well. Steph, you can type right into, the PDF is actually your own form. So if you actually download it onto your desktop, you can keep it and you can just use it. So I'm going to get you to stop here. Again, I would highly recommend that you fill these pieces in just as part of that preliminary work. But what I want to kind of go into is we just talked about problematic processes. And when we think about actually, let's talk about how AI can really work well after you've been able to fix that business process. So say that you've gone in and you've filled that form in, you've identified what you need to do. I want to share a little example of a retail company that had a huge problem with managing inventory. Now this, again, I can take all kinds of different examples across the board for different businesses, but what they were always struggling with two major issues. Sometimes they would order way too much product and then they would run out of, which took up time or space and they cost some money. Other times they actually wouldn't even order enough. They'd actually run out of popular items. They'd lose sales and then they'd upset customers because they didn't have the product. So at first they actually thought, yeah, we can just jump into the AI, and solve this problem, because they heard that, AI can predict how much stock they need and really help them to manage their supplies better. So it sounded like that perfect fit. But before using AI, this is how they did it differently. They decided to step back and look closely at how they actually manage their inventory. So this is something, again, that you can do where, as this is a different type of company, they decided, okay, well, for centralizing their inventory data, that's what we've got to do first. Because all our data is in different places, we want to actually pull it all together in one place. And there's lots of things for businesses to be able to use, and you can absolutely, use Google Sheets. If you're a large organization, it would be different. But they basically consolidated, got everything in one place. They also looked at their forecasting, because they always are looking to the future, and they wanted to figure out, well, how are we actually predicting our sales and our seasonal demand? So what they were looking for was patterns, and they were looking for places that they could be more efficient. And not to mention, sometimes this is all done on paper. It's not always done on technology. So if you're, say, a small business that's still, on paper, or a big business that's still doing stuff on paper, looking at basically, how you forecast is really important, specifically for this business. And then they were looking at their standardized restocking processes. Now, for them, it was like they made clear rules for when, how, and how they restock their items. So the whole team was doing it the same. Every single time it was done the same. And so this is why processes are really great and so effective. They were creating these restock schedules. So every Monday and Thursday, this would be done. So check, they did everything. They had things organized. And that is when then they went into AI. And they had they had the inventory system running smoothly. They had introduced an AI tool to predict how much stock they would need. The AI analyzed their sales data. It spotted seasonal trends. It forecasted which products would be in demand. So this was actually a much more efficient approach than just, going up, finding the next thing that says it solves my problem, but not really looking at your own processes or business in terms of how organized it was. And if you're wondering about the human element, because of course AI can do a lot of this process, what I always like to say is that the person that was doing a lot of these parts has now more time to improve customer experience, planning and promotions, or developing new product lines. So things that are taking, and really using creativity and that personal touch, which AI doesn't replicate. Again, I'm sure this conversation will come out today at some point, but I did want to say, like, it's making space. So instead of coming from a place of, oh my goodness, AI is going to take over, actually we get our processes in order. It is taking care of a part of a system. It's not meant to take over everything. So their success was that they actually helped reduce stock issues by 30%. And it only succeeded because their processes were strong to begin with. I do understand it is frustrating if you're in a company and you're at loggerheads, or maybe you've got silos. We can again, talk about that after. Has anybody heard of Ethan Mollick? Ethan Mollick, again, another fantastic, definitely a fantastic, he's a professor in the management of Wharton. And he says, instead of, when humans and AI actually work together, in a balanced way, things run more smoothly. So Mollick actually calls this idea of co-intelligence. This is the book that's on screen, where both AI and people combine their strengths to get the results. And he says that the actual most successful AI deployment actually occurs when AI augments and amplifies oiled processes rather than patching broken ones. So AI enhances, it doesn't fix it. And I think a lot of the time we're getting into a place where we're like, well, AI is going to fix it. So we all need to look at, what we're doing in our business processes. So I want you to just take a moment to identify one process that's working well, because I know we focused on something that wasn't working well. It was causing us pain. What's one that would be working well that you could, could be improved with maybe more efficiency or accuracy? So this could be anything from content creation for marketing, sales forecasting, customer support. It's already a process that's running smoothly. And of course, I'm going to ask you to go into Menti and share it. Share the win of something that you're like, wow, yeah, actually, this is working well. And it doesn't have to be a long process. I think sometimes as well, we can look at our day and we can have a very small process that we don't even really think about. But wow, if we didn't have to do it, wouldn't it be so much better? So on the screen here, we've got service request ticket systems are working really well. Payroll that is working well. Onboarding of new employees is improving. Fantastic. Customer support. Content creation on LinkedIn. Fantastic. Onboarding new clients for data analysis and reporting. Route scheduling. So this is really, again, really important that you start to think about those processes that are working well. And I say that because that's where we start. A lot of the time, that's the best place to start. You're like, wow, I've already got a process that's working. How can I make it even better? How can then I bring in AI to specifically help some of that situation? We've got online training portal and development. That's great to see. So AI will work best when there's a solid foundation. So if your process is pretty solid and you can build upon it, of course, that's only going to make it better and better and better. So when we have these existing processes, we get quicker wins as well. That's another thing. It's fast improvements. It's a lot less risky. And you're going to notice where large corporations, specifically in the AI space, again, there's a lot of risk associated with large processes and ones that are not clearly identified. So, when we start with things that are already working well and we do tweaks, then of course it's lower risk. It's easily measured. We can easily measure AI's impact because we can see track of gains, and we can also feel more confident. It boosts our confidence when we see success. So I don't know if anybody is, figured out ChatGPT at its maximum level, but when you start to win in that department, it's so exciting. Even just down to, okay, it actually helped me write this email that maybe I would have sat here for 20 minutes. And again, I want to save that time. So, that's a very small piece, but those little wins give you confidence to keep moving. And that's how we do that within a business process as well. So on the second page of your sheet, the second question is all about refining that process that you just spoke about and then breaking it down into steps. So the first two questions. So just open the PDF or just bring that second page up. And again, we're not going to have the time today to fill it all in, but what I want you to think about is, okay, great. I know it would be easier for my foundation if I start with a process that's working well, potentially, if I know that it strategically makes sense, there's a return on investment. Again, happy to have a conversation with you about it further after this keynote. But what are the main steps involved in that process? And that's where we sometimes get caught off guard because we don't really think about all the steps. And, for some of you, if you're saying, okay, we don't really have documented processes, we have to start to think about what is involved and then where actually can AI even augment it? Because AI is not going to solve every problem. Maybe it doesn't make any sense in that case. So as an example, you've got a customer onboarding process, in a very basic framework, which it's not about overcomplicating this. The customer makes the first contact. Then the sales team schedules a demo. Then the customer attends the demo. And then the sales follows up, and then there's a contract signed. This is all high level here today. But what I want to share is that without you outlining a process or understanding each piece, there's no point in even talking about AI yet, because AI is a tool. Does that make sense to everybody? Is anybody like, just get on with Melissa AI? I just want to talk about AI. This is not the one today, but a different one, yes. So I do want to open up this conversation. Does anybody have a process specifically that is working well that they want to share, and if they have a question of where AI could potentially fit in? Any processes that maybe you've mapped out, or maybe there's a pain point in one of the parts that you were like, let's talk about how AI could potentially solve that issue or make it more efficient. Oh, we've got a lively room here today. Does everybody have their processes figured out and they know where AI fits? Steph, I know you're.
I have one. I have a question.
Yeah.
So ours is so when we do a new project and we track all of the data, and then afterwards we do a before and after presentation.
Yeah.
So part of the thing that's going really well is also the complication, the bottleneck piece, which is when we have that before and after presentation with the customer, and then we have like the transcript, and then we want to pull out pieces that they've said to sort of put it into like a testimonial or a review. And the formatting of that transcript file is like, for some reason, this massive bottleneck, like trying to format it into something that's readable and skimmable. And I don't know if that's something that could be addressed with AI.
Yes, absolutely. Are you using this in, is there any AI tools that you're using currently for the process of that? To get the actual transcript?
Well, the transcript is created through AI, like it's provided through the Zoom recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so the formatting is not currently working, and you'd like to be able to synthesize?
Yeah, like I'd like to be able to take that transcript file, which has all the timestamps and it's all
Yes.
broken out into different lines, and then I want that into a workable document. But right now I have to copy and like I have to import it into a document and then run like a bunch of, you know, instructions to remove that formatting. And I never remember what those instructions are because of course I haven't written them down anywhere. So then I have to go and find them. So the bottleneck is me, and I know this. So I feel like there's a set of programming sort of functions that would take care of pretty much that entire bottleneck.
Yeah, and I think that again, without being and there might be some people online that are even more technical, but with Zapier and with Make.com, being able to build those processes so they're automated,
Yeah.
that's where. So when we talk about actual business processes, that's where the magic is happening. And when, again, I'll just speak for my own behalf. I'm constantly trying to push the limits. So if I get on a call, how can I get AI to transcribe everything, which we know we could do quite easily now? How can it actually then take the sentiment, being able to put it into a proposal and take that whole process that I normally take, which is a lot of time, and synthesize it where I can just be able to look at it at the end and be able to do all the refinement. And that whole process is built out through using Make.com. And so what you're asking, there's small, there's large size. And again, depending on your type of organization and depending on security data, there's all kinds of variables. It might be something that Steph, a Make.com or Zapier automation would be perfect.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Talking it through sometimes is super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I wanted just to open it up, and I know that we could be here probably forever here today by just talking about different pieces. But again, once you start to see where those bottlenecks are, or you see that kind of process and you're like, geez, just if that piece could be fixed, it would cause so much less pain for me. And that's where, thinking about AI to help you solve those problems and, really trying to figure out the solutions is so impactful. So thank you very much, Steph, for jumping on. I do want to share another wrong way because I'm seeing it all the time, and I love it. And if you're here and you're doing it, it doesn't matter. It's not judgmental. But what I do want to share is I've been working with, so specifically a recruitment company. And we've seen, of course, how AI can be done successfully with your processes and being, optimized. Now it's like, well, okay, what about a business that is like super excited? They want to streamline their content process. They're going to use ChatGPT. It doesn't matter. You can use any other large language model, but ChatGPT for generating blog posts and client sales page. They went on a heyday. And I thought, oh my goodness, what's happened? A lot of people are doing this, and the company was so excited because they said, oh, we're going to save time. We're going to have all this incredible writing. We can automate, the creative process for our teams. So they jumped in, and what ended up happening? I was like, oh my goodness. Well, number one, they didn't have a content schedule. They didn't have a defined tone or voice. They didn't have clear objectives. They didn't have any process specifically, and they actually didn't know how to get the most out of ChatGPT. So their content was inconsistent. The quality was not great. It didn't align with the agency's brand voice. It sounded like ChatGPT, so they missed the whole mark on the strategic objectives of the client, like for their clients. And so the team ended up having to go back in and editing it all, and it cost them more time than if they just written the post from scratch. And I was like, oh my goodness, right now, again, a lot of people are feeling that pain. Clients are not happy, you're not happy, but the company realized, oh my goodness, I didn't have the right processes in place for content creation. I didn't even have a tone strategy. So of course, everything that's coming out with ChatGPT was sounding like ChatGPT. They didn't know how to work it. And so this is a really great kind of story of how important it is to upskill or to train your team in order to really kind of hone in, if you're using it for content generation, how you can get it to work better for you and to be really helpful versus something that actually caused a lot of pain in that process. Steph says gross. Yeah, it is gross. It is gross, but I mean, everybody's learning it, but it's really important to know that those processes are so important, and then knowing how to also upskill. So if, in this case, ChatGPT magnified something, if it was well-structured and strategic and you knew how to use LLM effectively, well, of course, it's going to save you time. It's going to be a lot better. If it's chaotic or if it's lacking direction or you don't know how to use ChatGPT effectively, it's going to magnify your problems. So anybody that's using ChatGPT, great. If you're a dabbler, just be careful when you're actually using it in your organization. So again, content strategy, tone guidelines, objectives. That was what the three things specifically that they were having to be able to focus on for themselves. I do want to share that, again, 4 simple steps. What's really, really important, how we can make things easier or harder depending on how we do it. To make it easier, you really want to define that process clearly. You want to identify your pain points. You want to, can the process be fixed without AI? Because sometimes, again, we're so quick to say, I want AI to come in, and it might not make sense. And then, of course, if you're using it, testing and doing it in small ways to be able to create that kind of improvement. So I've, on the 3rd page, and we're not going to do this here today, but this is your checklist. It's all ready for you. It's going to help you evaluate your processes. Whether you've identified if it's actually ready for AI to improve it. And so you can go through that checklist as a way to understand it specifically what you're trying to solve. Of course, we are talking about bigger processes and longer term investments and return on investments, but there are, of course, quick wins. And I don't want you to think that, okay, I've gone through my checklist. You can make your informed decisions about when and where you're going to, have AI help your business or your role specifically. But if you want to jump in, people go, well, why can't I jump into ChatGPT right away, or maybe another AI tool? Because there's so many out there right now. Of course you can. It's more for smaller, low risk tasks where you can make immediate impact. And that would be things like brainstorming, writing drafts, getting new perspectives, analyzing data. A lot of us, we have the ability to be able to, there's processes in each of these, in fact, as well. Getting new perspectives, using, AI as a strategic thought partner. Of course, that's like a quick win every single day. I'm always using it as a strategic partner, and maybe in directions that you haven't covered before or you haven't considered. And if I'm looking at my processes and maybe I have questions about it, I'll dive into, ChatGPT and actually be able to get it to counter. So I'll ask the questions back and forth. So this is where, yes, of course, there is quick wins, but they're not longer term pieces that create larger return on investments. I mean, they're almost smaller incremental things. So just know the difference between, okay, you know what, I don't have to do any preparation. I can jump in. Although if you're getting your, analyzing data, a lot of people right now are going, well, I'm going to just take and bring, I'm going to attach my spreadsheet in, say, ChatGPT to analyze this data. And they don't get the results that they want because there is a process involved in analyzing data. You've got to be able to take your sheet and actually find, a lot of this stuff has a lot of noise on it. So there is a process in keeping it clean. And so, again, even in these buckets, these quick wins, there is small processes. So it's quick wins versus long-term strategy. And I do always look at it is, it is trying to find the balance, for larger areas of your business, like customer service with sales forecasting. If you're jumping into AI too soon without an organized process, yes, of course, we know it can cause many issues. But quick wins like ChatGPT, it's your, go-to tool. Or you know what, if you're doing a lot of research, you go in and again, there's so many tools out there, but just know what you're kind of, getting into and how valuable that tool is going to be for your time. So I do want to share as well, it's not about reactive. It's not about trends, because I know that we're all kind of on this AI train and we're just trying to kind of catch up. Always ask yourself that question, is my process ready for AI to be amplified? And just slow it down, because as everything's moving so quick, we do want to slow it down and take some, an approach that's a little bit more mindful so that we can solve those problems. So process first, AI second. AI is absolutely not a silver bullet. It's not magic either. It's a tactical tool, and really identify where AI can add specific value to your business. I do want to open it up. I know this was like, there was a lot of pieces here. I'd like to spend more time for Q&A, but before I do, I decided last week, because I had so many people connecting with me, to create a community so that people can come in, ask questions. It's free. I said, I think it would be amazing if we could, all the stuff that I learn and I can teach inside of a community, that you can have access to. So I would absolutely love for you to scan the code, take a picture of the screen, join in. And what's beneficial for you is a lot of this AI conversation is about dialogue. And so every Tuesday and Thursday for a half hour, I have an open window where people are going to come together and ask all kinds of different questions. And so if that's something that would be helpful for you, now that's just one piece of it. I have every intention to build a very, very unique community that has a lot of resources for you, because I think without the resources and without us educating ourselves, I think it's a lot harder to basically move the dial on basically this AI adoption. So I'd love to see you in the community. We are actually going to have a Q&A at 12 o'clock. So if we miss out some time, just jump on in. And take a picture as well to stay in contact. If you've got any questions at all, of course, you can head over to LinkedIn or you can email me. This is something that, again, this evolving conversation, a lot of the stuff that I spoke about today was very high level. We can go in deeper to specific pieces, and there's of course a lot of different solutions depending on what is going on in your own life, and what you're kind of trying to solve. So I do want to say thank you very much. We have got 10 minutes, so I think it would be really well use of time to open it up. You can go into Menti and just start to ask questions, put stuff that is in your head. And if you want to unmute yourself, you can absolutely do that as well. But it's always easy if we can see some questions on the screen. So thank you very much, everyone. What is the one pressing question on your mind? You obviously came in here today. You wanted something answered, or you're curious. What do you mean by upscale? What do you mean by upscale here? Do you mind unmuting yourself and just letting me know specifically what you're referring to with upscale? Are you looking at the sheet?
Sure, Melissa, it's Robert here. Thank you. I just know you mentioned it in several in passing during your presentation. Kind of was just seeing if you could maybe provide an example of what you mean when you talk about upscaling. I think it was in context of a process, and in order to upscale it to AI, I think is, if I understood you correctly.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So when I say upscale, it's almost like being able to adopt a new piece of technology to bring that process to a place where it will upscale it to a more efficient process. That's what I'm referring to.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So did you want more anything else around that? Or was that enough to say about upscale?
No, that's great for me anyway. Thanks.
No problem. Robert asks, what's my favorite AI use case for your business and what has saved you the most time? Oh, I can tell you a whole bunch of things. So definitely with regards to thought leadership. I have to say with AI specifically, it's saving an incredible amount of time for me specifically to be able to bounce ideas in a way that I actually have a partner. Like I don't have to rely on multiple teams. I use that all the time, but also chatbots is another huge one. I was getting a flood of a lot of just intake on customer service emails, a lot of people coming from the website. And I noticed a huge change. And actually, I learned about this because of WestJet when they started to implement their chatbot ages ago and when they were going through COVID. So when I heard their case study, I thought, wow, I'm gonna have to try it too with regards to your frequently asked questions, being able to book through your chatbot. All those parts that people would ask me and inquire and go through, the portal to get to, finding the answers. It was all solved through a basic chatbot. And when I say basic, it's a well-designed chatbot, but it's something that, again, saves an incredible amount of time for me to be able to know that I don't have to divert my attention. The next thing is specifically on, I believe, it hasn't happened yet, but it is almost complete. Content creation is a huge pain point for me. I'm always teaching people, and I'm always working with clients. And so we've been working on a process, and I will let you know how it goes with regards to taking YouTube content. So I create a video, and then it repurposes all the content for all the different platforms and being able to input it into my WordPress site as a blog, and basically to compress my ability to not have to bring in I'm purposely keeping everything small, just so you know. I've had big companies with a lot of people. I'm trying to be very tailored and very specific. Where is human integration versus where can AI also assist? So this is something that, again, if you follow along my journey, I will absolutely share. We see that this is going to be a huge savings of time. And again, I will quantify it based on how much it used to take me versus how much the AI process or augmented process is going to take me. And the last thing is, again, I could probably go on for days about how AI is helping me, but research is huge. Going into like tools like Perplexity, where it has so much value add just in terms of being able to synthesize, to have a lot of different data points at your fingertips. That's something that's been very helpful. So hopefully that's four different ones, but hopefully that's helpful. Does anybody else want to share with regards to questions? Oh, here, let's go down. Using ChatGPT as an organized set of folders for specific inquiries. Can you unmute yourself, please? And I'm not too sure I understand the question.
Yeah, it made sense in my head.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
What I've been finding with ChatGPT, what I've been finding is, like I have my little selection of questions, like the history.
Yes.
But that's not because I'm always I mess up I put too many topics into one thing, and I'm wondering if there's a way to have folders in organize that into folder.
Yeah, so there's actually secondary there's plugins that can do this, but I would recommend do you name your chats as well? Like,
No.
do you go through a process of being able to name on the left-hand side?
Nope.
Okay, well, it might be helpful if you jump into that community, because I actually answered a lot of questions about ChatGPT specifically.
I did.
There is a lot to learn about ChatGPT and how to set it up so that you don't drive yourself crazy. And also even going in further to how you actually set your own GPT up for very specific pieces of what your, if I say I have a lot of different GPTs built inside that are like individualized, very specialized conversations that I have. So it's super organized on that left-hand side. So maybe
I just started doing that. That's awesome. And I did join the school. That's great.
Yeah, I can get into it further. Okay. So thank Thanks very much for asking. Can you differentiate automate versus AI in business? That's a great question. People get confused with it in business context. Should the quick wins start with starting with automate first? Yes, I think that AI can, after you've automated a system, say in your email, say you're using in your CRM and you've got an automated process, and then you realize that AI, specifically generative AI, can come in and augment that process so that you can keep that process moving, even just like a well-oiled machine. I do think that would be the right way around. But there's, I'm sure, cases where specifically that if you're in the healthcare industry and it's diagnosing specific things, like it is kind of use case scenario. I'm only thinking of the stuff that I'm used to. I think processes or automation in general is where the industries have been going for quite some time. I just think where we can get AI to come in and help it is really a key piece. Oh, thank you. Yes.
Okay. One use case I could share here that might be useful for business owners on this platform. So one thing, I also deal with business owners, and I know they struggle a lot with delegation or outsourcing, especially for activities or processes that are not core, to help them work on their business rather working in their business. And you could use AI to actually document your processes and identify those non-core processes you could outsource. If you are able to document your processes step by step, you could then use it to create a job description and use that as basis for attracting the right people, the people that have the right skill sets, and of course using it to stand to set up it's like an agreement, a contractual agreement to say this is what you're supposed to do. And it's not difficult. You could download ChatGPT on your phone or Claude AI and actually use a voice prompt to describe your process. Just say it. You don't need to sit down and type for hours. Right? It has saved my client tons and tons of time and added value to their business.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's a great use case scenario. With you becoming more and more well versed in AI, just in terms of generative AI, and saying, okay, we can go in, we can look at all different ways to find out how we can create a process. Like I use ChatGPT for every type of process. It actually wrote my processes, because the first thing I was thinking about was, I know how I do certain things in this business, but in order for us to sit down and actually go through everything, it is a time piece. So that's where it's a huge win, where you can go in, you can have it help you organize those processes, even if you don't have them done up front, and then to be able to specialize, and especially if you're trying to help a client, go in and synthesize or create information where it would save them time. So absolutely. And this, honestly, we do so many sessions based on how it's only limited by your imagination. But I do like to say it is so easy just to jump in, which I think is important to, obviously we just all need to keep moving forward, but to, when you're looking at that larger return on investment, like really be intentional with what you're trying to achieve within your business processes or your actual business. So thank you for sharing that. We're at time, so I totally understand if people need to go. I can be on here for another couple minutes. We'll just do maybe one more question. We struggle with digital literacy today. How can we help people understand AI in plain language? I'm so glad that you asked, and we end on this conversation. This is what I'm doing every single day. Is all about AI mindset, because a lot of people don't realize their mind, their thoughts, and what actually is internal, even at an unconscious level, is keeping them actually stuck behind. And we deal with AI literacy in plain language, non-techie. So again, I highly encourage you to go into the community. It will be spoken, really plain language, and being able to really visualize it so that you can kind of get a better understanding. So if you've got any more questions, let me know, reach out to me. I want to thank everyone for being here. I know it was broad today, but again, I don't want you to feel like you can't ask me questions. So thank you. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to connecting with all of you.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for this informative session. I think we've all learned, honestly, how to think about our businesses first and the processes first before we integrate AI. So thank you so much for joining us and for such a great session. And thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope you have a great day.